This episode is proudly sponsored by OctaFX, your trusted global forex trading platform. With over a decade of experience, OctaFX has empowered over 40 million traders across 180 countries. Stay tuned and discover how you boost your income with OctaFX. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Equip and Elevate. I am so excited about today's episode because the lovely lady that I have on the podcast today is someone that I know from back in the day. We went to high school together and it's going to be really fun to have this conversation with her. I'd like to introduce Dr. Katlego. She is a medical doctor, she's the founder of Clueless Moms, and she's also a self-taught makeup artist. So I'm really excited to chat about her career, to chat about her business, and now she's also opened a new practice. So I'm really excited to chat about that. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Finally, it's happening.
Yes,
finally.
Guys, we've been trying to do this for since I think last year. I approached you last year.
Yes, so we tried twice last year. Didn't work. And this time, third time lucky. It's really a thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. This is the third time we're actually having you on this. So I'm really excited because I think out of all the other guests, you're someone that I know from back in the day.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of stories to share too. I have a question about what did you want to do when growing up? What did you want to be when you wanted to grow when growing up? And I have a story around some of the things that we thought you would be.
Yeah, I know. So, it's so nice to actually be here with someone that's from high school because every time I'm asked to come onto radio stations or have any interviews and they ask me, how did you get into medicine? I always say, there's someone from my high school that would say that they never thought I'd get into medicine, but they thought I'd be in Hollywood somewhere.
Yes, I wanted to say that. I wanted to say that you would have, I think you even won our year's actress, I don't know, drama.
Yeah.
I really,
250.
Yeah.
So cheap.
So I really thought that would have been your path, and then next thing you're studying medicine. I'm like, oh my goodness, how did we get there? Yeah. But anyway, before we get there, can you maybe share your upbringing and some of the key values that have shaped you today? Okay,
so my upbringing was very relaxed, I think. No, it was quite eventful actually. But I grew up in Soshanguve. No, I didn't. I grew up for 8 years in Soshanguve, and then we moved around Pretoria. My mom has always been in the workforce, so I didn't spend a lot of time with her. And funny enough, I feel like I'm starting to mold to be like her because I'm very work orientated and always trying to make moves and a hustler. But I had an amazing relationship with her growing up, as well as my father, more so my father. So my father and I used to, play chess. He taught me how to play it. He used to read to me quite a lot. So he got me into reading. And that was his thing. Sometimes it seemed like we were living in a movie because he would put me on his lap and he would read to me. And yeah, it was an okay upbringing. I have an older sister whom I only became close to in my adulthood years. So I actually felt kind of alone as a child. But I spent most of it actually watching TV. And that's actually where the drama and all of that comes from. Because when you spend a lot of time with yourself, your imagination goes wild. And you get to be very creative.
Yeah.
And it's played a role in everything that I've done up to this point.
Sure.
So I started doing makeup in grade 4. People don't know that, but I did it when I was in grade 4.
Really?
Yes. My mom had this makeup set. I'll never forget. My mom never used to wear makeup. She still doesn't. She tries. And she had this makeup set and it had everything. It was actually disastrous. It had everything in it. It had nail polish and an eyeshadow palette and a powder. It's a recipe for disaster, but I enjoyed it. It was colorful, it was fun, and I used to apply it on myself and I used to apply it on students at school, and that's how we grew with it.
Sure.
In terms of the values that I was taught, my mom taught me hard work. That's the biggest thing. My dad too, but more so my mom. Spending time with my grandmother taught me humility and loving of people. My gran didn't have much, but the little that she had, she always shared it. My grand's house, is in a corner street, so she has a bigger yard than a lot of people on her road, in her street, and she had shacks in it. And she was housing foreign nationals.
Sure.
And even with the little that she had, she still allowed them to freeload on her. And, you know, she gave as much as she could. I had the warmest meals with her. I had the warmest time with her. Yeah, no, she taught me how to love people. Really, honestly, yeah.
Sure, I love that. And when you look back, what did you want to be growing up? I mean, I had an idea, and I think everyone else in our grade had an idea of what you would be, which was probably somewhere in Hollywood, being an actress or something.
Yeah.
But what did you want to do? Because now you're doing medicine. And
Yeah.
And how did that even happen?
Okay, so I only realized now that my story is starting to unfold. So I am becoming the person that I've always thought I was going to be.
Sure.
I just didn't know how that was going to be untold, right? So I have to tell you a little bit of a story and then we'll go into it. So in grade 7, I was a prefect. And one of my duties was to take care of a grade 4 class, right? So I had to make sure that they get to their lectures, their lessons and so forth, and they behave during activities. And I remember there was this one boy, he was so rebellious. So he demanded my attention and he demanded to be known. So you could never ignore him. And I remember the last time I saw him, we had an activity that day, and that day he was just showing me the biggest flames. And 2 days later, I found out that he passed on.
Sure.
So
hectic.
Yeah. So what happened was he had, what they described to us was that he had been vomiting the whole day, had headaches, and then he passed on. So they obviously didn't go into much detail, but for me that was not enough because it was quite significant that this little boy that was active was here one day and then gone the next. And I'm not a person that just takes half answers, you know. So I decided to do research. I just went on to Google. And obviously because my research wasn't what it would be now, what stuck out to me was brain tumors. Okay. I'm not saying that he had a brain tumor, but that's what stuck out to me. And then I was like, oh my God, I am going to go into other parts of Africa and I'm going to teach them about brain tumors. I'm going to become a neurologist and make sure that nobody ever goes through this again, you know. And not knowing then that what I was actually saying is that I am going to equip myself with information and skills that I can transfer to others to empower them and to help them advocate for themselves. And it has unfolded that way. Even with my makeup artistry business, where I used to have my BeatsbyKaz masterclasses, you know. And now with medicine, I use that with my Clueless Moms. So the acting part of it came in because I needed a relief from the science. And I love telling stories. And I get to do so even now with my initiatives, your Clueless Moms. The only difference is that the stories I'm telling is backed by research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. And tell us about your career progression. So that incident happens when you're in grade 7.
Yeah.
You're more now drawn to medicine. How was your career progression? And I think also, part of the conversation that I wanted you to be a part of last year was really managing mental health, and with a lot of young doctors who are entering the space with ComServe, and I think your internships and the hours you guys work and all of that. I really wanted to have that kind of conversation, but that's not the conversation today.
Yeah.
But how did that, so now you're studying medicine, what was your career progression to what you're doing right now, which is now having a new practice? What's your focus area?
Okay.
And yeah, all of that.
So I just want to correct it. I don't have my own practice. I work in a practice.
In a practice.
Yeah. So it's an established practice. It's called Lumidime Medicals. And I was contacted by B, the dentist, because she works in association with Lumidime Medicals to join the team. So, So I finished medicine, 2019, COVID years. I enter my internship, right? That's supposed to be about 2 years. For me, it was 3 years because I had my baby in between. So it was still 2 years, but it got broken up, right? And then I struggled to get a ComServe placement. I think maybe that's the first time you actually spoke to me. because I was talking about it quite often on my Instagram, that I don't feel as secure in this profession as they said I would be, as they promised that I would be. Finally, I get myself into ComServe, and I'm working at Tembisa Hospital, and I learned a lot. I got a lot of skills from there, but with that also came a lot of lengthy hours that we're not going to speak too much on, but they were not fun, and it was hard with being a mom, juggling all the other things that I have, like my initiatives, and it was just not fun. So when I finished ComServe, which is actually now I finished ComServe in June, I was thinking that I was going to go into corporate medicine.
And what's corporate medicine?
Okay, sure. So corporate medicine is, so the field I wanted to go into is medical affairs. So you are still taking care of patients, but you're taking care of patients from like either a policy side or what I was really interested in, which was going to be a medical science liaison, which means that you go out there and you become an educational support to key opinion leaders, which are in the therapeutic area. And you also share with your in-house team your insights that you get from them. And with that, you do the best that you can so that the pharmaceutical company can always make sure that they're giving the best to the patient. So your primary focus is always the outcome of the patient, right? So I was really, really interested in becoming a medical science liaison. It is still in my books, but when I really struggled in my interview, I realized that maybe I need a little bit more experience in the enterprising world, so I can have an enterprising mindset. Because as much as I'm still a medical doctor and they can utilize those skills, there's still some business skills that are required. I mean, corporate, you need to be able to think, money, and you need to be able to think sales. Although you're not in sales, it's not a commercial position, but you need to have that kind of thinking. So then I got offered this GP position, and it's a lot, because it's not like I have a salary every month that I know that I'm gonna get. You work hard, you get more money. You don't work hard, you won't get money. But it's interesting, it's fun. I'm very excited about this, because it's also allowing me to focus on my other ventures.
As we delve into the world of financial independence and diversifying income stream, OctaFX is the perfect financial instrument for you to do that. This is the ultimate trading platform for anyone, whether you're starting out or just simply already trading, and how you can also trade.
The OctaFX trading app is the ultimate solution for trading, offering transparent trading conditions, swift and secure deposits and withdrawals, daily trading insights, round-the-clock customer support. OctaFX boosts a wide range of instruments, including stock assets, cryptocurrencies, currency pairs, metals, and dices. What sets OctaFX apart is its unwavering commitment to security and employing advanced encryption technology to safeguard your personal and financial information. If you're new to trading, you do not need to worry. OctaFX offers a wealth of free resources for aspiring traders. For more information on how you can start making some extra income, simply click the link in the episode description.
And talking about other ventures, so now you've got the makeup business, you've got Clueless Moms, and you're also obviously working as a doctor right now, as a GP. How did you come up with Clueless Moms? What inspired you? Because that's another side passion that you're currently pursuing right now. What inspired you to actually, come up with it?
So it came up on its own.
I
was having a conversation about my own journey as becoming a mom, and I called people clueless moms, or I called myself a clueless mom, and then everybody that would engage with me would call themselves a clueless mom, and then it became a community. And then from there, took it to WhatsApp, kept it also on Instagram, and I realized that, okay, I can do more. Let me engage with people in person. So that's when we started the events. So that's what Clueless Moms actually is. It's more of a community than anything. And It's just that I want more people to get the support that I feel that I required and I received from this community. Yeah.
And I think when you walked in, the first thing I wanted to ask you is all mom questions. Because I'm just like, there's certain things that you think are going to come naturally. And then the minute you start reading, you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know things were that complicated. And then because I've seen the work you've done, and the first thing I was like, oh my goodness, Clueless Moms, that's exactly me right now, trying to understand that space. But in everything you're doing right now, how do you then find the balance? Have you mastered the art of balancing, you know, your career and your side businesses and your side passions? How have you found that balance?
No, I haven't. Some suffer more than others. So now going into a GP practice, right? It's great because I can manage my time. My makeup artistry business, I wouldn't even call it a business anymore because of how much it suffered when I became a doctor. I was thriving as a student because I could manage my hours. I could decide what needs my commitment and what really doesn't. And I still did well in university, you know. But once you become a doctor, you have another commitment, and that commitment is more demanding. And there's no option of like, oh, you can just one day not decide to come to the hospital because you want to go do makeup on a set somewhere. You know, you can't do that, right? But you could miss a lecture in varsity and then like catch up, right? So my makeup business really suffered, and I struggled with finding means to bring it up. And that's the mentality that I'm telling you about, that when you go into corporate, or when you consider going into corporate, you need to start having. Because even in corporate, you have KPIs that you need to meet, right? And how do you meet those KPIs? Do you have the type of mentality that can help you, or the skills that can help you do so, right? So I'm really struggling with the balance, but I think going forward from here on, I think we'll do better. I am now currently trying to be at the practice, and I'm doing interviews. Besides you, I'm doing interviews because I have an event for Clueless Moms, but I also have an initiative with the Lumidai Medicals, which is our pap smear drive. And I also have my digital content creating, you know.
And that's another thing I didn't mention in the intro. She's also a content creator, so that's another element.
Yeah, so it's quite a lot. Things always suffer.
Yeah.
Things always suffer.
Yeah.
My motherhood right now is kind of suffering. I won't lie. I felt it yesterday. You know, I was up at 4:00 in the morning. We did a TV interview. Then I went to work. And from work, I only came back at 5:30, but I was tired. And then when I got into bed, now my mind is racing because I still have to do Clueless Moms things. I need to plan the event, and then I have to do the pap smear drive. And I couldn't spend time with my child at all.
Yeah.
I only spent time with her at 4:00 in the morning today.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, it's an interesting question I ask because I don't really believe in balance. I think something will suffer. I always ask this question because I'm curious to see how other women tackle that, because for me, I just believe that in some seasons, some certain things have to take priority, because this whole concept that if there's a balance and you're doing 10,000 things, it's almost impossible, and it can go into this toxic culture of working from 9 to midnight every single day.
Just trying to keep afloat with everything.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can actually really say no to certain things for that season and focus on these things for this season. And so for me, it's something that I always ask. And I think also Oprah, made me think about it differently, because she's like, I don't believe in balance. And I was just like, I don't believe in balance too.
I'm so glad you said that, because I really suffered with my makeup business not doing well anymore. Yeah. I regretted so many things, and it's a hot topic with my partner. Well, it was for quite some time, where I was just like, I suck. I should have done this, and I should have done this, and I should have kept. And I didn't realize, what you're saying is so important. I didn't realize that at that time, the season was for me to be an intern and do what I needed to do. But the funniest thing is, what I didn't realize, and you making me realize this, is that it helped me cultivate my digital content creation career, because now I had no other choice but to focus on other things.
Yeah.
So thanks for that. That is good. That has just washed over the guilt. I've really suffered with that.
Yeah,
really
and
struggled
I
with
think
it.
it's not always easy, but I think when you take that conscious decision to say that this is season I'm doing this, and it's okay. You know, there's no formula to what works for me or works for the next person, but this works for me in this season. So that's something I've taught myself, because I've also had to slice back some things that are really major, like studies. And obviously your parents are not always not excited about that. They're like, you know, you should be finishing your master's now. But in this season, what I needed to prioritize was the pregnancy, because I just couldn't do everything and also study and also submit all these things for me and with my journey. And I know initially, yeah,
Your child is very lucky. No, I promise you to God, you having that mentality even before going into it is so beneficial to your child. Because there's going to be a lot of things even in motherhood that you feel like you need to juggle with, and certain things are just going to have to suffer. And the fact that you showing yourself that much grace, and you don't want to be the master of everything, I know, quote unquote pun, you don't want to be the master of everything, honestly it's going to be so beneficial in your motherhood journey. Your child is very lucky. It's an amazing mentality to have.
Sure. Now, I mean, I also want to say it's not easy, but sometimes I think, like, with God, what he does is that sometimes we don't listen, and then, like, dramatic things happen. You're like, okay, I need to stop. You know, there's been moments where I knew that I had to stop, but I didn't stop. And then something very dramatic happens, like maybe an accident. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I was actually meant to stop. You know, this was not meant to be, you know, my path, because I'm so exhausted. And as a result, I fall asleep, which means that was my stop. And I was meant to stop a while back when I was told to stop. So I think sometimes it is those dramatic moments where I'm just like, okay, this is all working. And with the pregnancy, I'll share it one day when baby is here, what made me actually stop my studies. But it was a dramatic moment that made me stop, and then having to be okay with that decision at that time. So, yeah. But anyway.
I love this kind of story. Sorry. I love this kind of stories because, I mean, I've shared my journeys. Yeah. So I had those painful stops. And I obviously also shared it only when I was comfortable. So, I mean, you'll share it when you're comfortable. And I love that you say that. And you're right. Even with me, I didn't realize that I had to have a dramatic stop. When I was told that I could not go into practice anymore, couldn't go to the hospital anymore because I was about to lose my child, I didn't want to even conform. I didn't want to, you know, get into it.
Sure.
I didn't want to accept that.
Yeah.
I said no. I want to finish this degree. I mean, I want to finish my internship at this time and all that stuff. And someone had to sit me down, another pregnant woman. She was pregnant with twins, and she actually also had a heart stop. And she had to say to me, you're still going to be a doctor at the end of the day, but you need to decide, are you going to be a doctor without your child, or are you going to be a doctor?
Wow.
And that was very important for me.
Sure, that's amazing.
Yeah, and
that's amazing.
And literally that day she signed my papers. She was like, this is your leave, go home.
Sure. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it's such already a reminder of, like, the sacrifice that women have to make, even, like, as a mother, before your baby's even born.
It's a lot.
And it's something that I think someone said that to me. She said, you know, you're making such an important sacrifice for your child right now by stopping. Because I had a mind said, I'm going to finish this year, I'm going to do this, master's in this, and then next year I'll do something different. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm already thinking about the sacrifice I have to make. I didn't even think about it as a sacrifice. I just made a decision based on the fact that, as you said, like, it really goes down to your baby, your career, and all your studies, and making that decision. I didn't see it as a sacrifice. I almost made it as, you know, this is the most natural step.
You'll be naturally selfless. Yeah.
You know, and now to think about the things that we have to do, like, you know, in this instance, you had to sort of prolong your career.
I had to, yeah.
And I have friends who've also had to do a very similar. After they were doing articles, they had to finish after everyone else because they were having a baby at this point. So I already think before your baby is even born, you're already thinking about the sacrifices that you know, are making for them, and it almost comes natural. You don't feel like, I don't know, I don't have hate.
It does become natural. You won't resent it, but there'll be times that it will become hard.
Yeah.
So for me was when I was struggling to get a ComServe post because I was then asynchronous. I was very asynchronous. and I was asynchronous because I had to take, instead of taking 3 months off, I had to take 6 months off, you know. But the funniest thing, it became such a beautiful blessing in disguise, because then for me, I'm very controlling. It created a nice even number. So I was finishing 6 months later, which means it's half of the year. I'm not finishing like 3 months, you know. So planning my life was easier every 6 months instead of like 3 months and 9 months or whatever, you know. Yeah, but anyway.
Sure. Okay, so that was actually a good conversation. And I think, I mean, it's just so important. And I think it also just allows women just to stop stressing about balancing and having things go a certain way, and timelines, and, you know, everyone has their own
nature of
journey.
comparison.
The nature of comparison. Everyone has their own journeys. And I think it's about being content with where you're at and being content with sort of where your journey leads. And I think this is why this podcast is important, because I'm sitting there. If I didn't know your story, I'd be like, oh my goodness, Dr. Kat, she's a doctor, she does this. And you don't even know the journey that went into what happened for you to actually get where you are right now. And I really do hope that it opens everyone's eyes to be like, okay, my journey is unique, and even if I am slightly taking a different path, it will lead to where I need to lead. You'll get there, you know. Now you have such a diverse, I wouldn't say career, but you've got diverse side passions.
I do.
And generally, a lot of people are just medical doctors, and that's it. You know,
it's made my life fuller. It really has. It really, really, really has. Sorry, I don't want to take over your podcast. You need to stop me. If I'm talking too long, stop me.
No.
Please do.
No, please talk. I love it. So I think maybe going back to your career, what was the defining moment that made you say, this is what I want to do every single day, and made you basically make the decision to pursue this, whether I don't know, for a season, for forever, but what was that decision or that moment that's made you say, this is what I'm going to do?
Okay, so it wasn't a grand thing. It was me preparing for this interview for the medical science liaison that really didn't go well. Just before I prepared for it, so I was telling you this, you have to answer a question, right? How best can you describe yourself, right? And I mean, everybody can go through their accolades. I did this and this and this. I went to school, whatever. They can read that on your resume. And one tip that I received from my partner is that tell them a story. And I was trying to come up with stories, whatever. And it then took me back to that time of losing that student. And I realized that, okay, I definitely want to stay in medicine, because I was confused at some time, because I felt tortured by it. I really felt tortured by medicine. I felt tortured by the fact that I've made this commitment. People have fallen in love with this commitment. I can't just veer off.
Hi guys, thank you so much for tuning in today. Remember, the episode does not end here. So make sure you go on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and also Google Podcasts to check out the full episode and be inspired, learn so much more, and learn more from our guests today. I hope you stay equipped and elevated. Love from Ayanda.